As the city of Los Angeles and the NBA take strides to move beyond Donald Sterling, the former disgraced owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, and his racial rant, we speak exclusively with Leon Jenkins. Jenkins, you may recall, got caught up in the Sterling firestorm. Jenkins is also the former president of the NAACP Los Angeles branch. I'm Michael Reel, and this is ReelUrbanNews.com. Leon, it's safe to say that the past couple of months publicly have been challenging for you. How has this whole ordeal affected you?
Well, it hasn't been really challenging for me. There have been some incidents that have occurred that for some people may be difficult, but it's all a part of, I guess, everyday life because we have changes and we have controversy, but it has not been difficult.
So you're used to controversy?
I'm used to going through life problems and putting it in perspective.
What went through your mind initially when you heard the voice of Donald Sterling on a recording making derogatory statements about black people? What did you think about?
Well, let me tell you this. I got a number of texts and phone calls from people saying, well, what's wrong with Mr. Sterling? And I didn't know what was going on. And I think it was probably the next day, Saturday or Sunday, before I actually heard anything concerning that. When I first heard it, it was no question in my mind that the statements were indefensible. They were reprehensible, and it did not appear to be statements that I thought reflect what America is about or should be.
Were you stunned?
I was surprised, yes.
Disappointed?
Yes.
Did you reach out to Mr. Sterling after hearing the recording?
I did. I called him up and asked him at the time, what did he mean? What were the circumstances of the recording? Was there anything else out there? And that we should talk about this. And we sort of left it at that, you know, when the situation calmed down, we would meet and talk about it. I figure he owed not only me, but the public an explanation.
Did you feel betrayed?
Well, you got to define why would I feel betrayed. I mean, what do you mean by that?
You're an African-American male?
Yes.
He's Caucasian?
Yes.
You all are friends?
Yes. I felt that I needed more at the time, and we're dealing with this at the time. If you are a friend of mine and you say or do something that I disagree with, I'm going to confront you and say what's going on and give you an opportunity to explain.
What did he say when you raised those kind of questions toward him?
He said that that was not his intent nor the way he feels, and I should know that.
Donald Sterling has been labeled a racist. You have said publicly that you are reserving judgment, waiting for all the facts to come forward.
Yes.
What facts are missing for you?
Well, the biggest thing, let me put it this way. The man has already been judged a racist by the court of public opinion. So to me, that's a non-issue and a non-starter. I think the issue for me is next steps. Next steps for me is like, okay, I heard a lot during this whole conversation, this whole ordeal about the NBA being inclusive. Inclusive to me mean access. Access mean to me a path to access for those that have been dispersed, which are African Americans. And I'm waiting for the for the NBA, for a lot of the critics to come up and say, okay, our next step. We have done away with this issue in terms of Mr. Sterling. He's now a non-factor. So the issue for me is next step. Where do we go from here? How do we resolve this issue of race in our country? What do we do if the NBA is saying we are inclusive? What does it mean? Is that just a catchphrase? Or is it something that you really believe in? And how do you do that? there need to be probably a come to Jesus moment where the players sit down with each other, with their union at the NBA, and say, these are the next step. This is how we make the NBA more inclusive. It's not enough to have a commercial that says, oh, well, you know, we helping kids do this, we helping kids doing that, and Nike paying for it. I'm saying, what are you realistically doing to change where you have a child at home that's going to bed hungry, get up hungry, and don't get nothing to eat to go to school for that little meal there in a single parent home that mom can't, our dad can't help them with the homework because they only finished the 6th grade. What are we doing in terms of that path for access? That path for access, because those kids won't go to an NBA game.
Right.
And if you don't give them a path to get there as an adult, they won't go as an adult either. So my question to me is to change the focus to next steps. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do? Okay, we didn't sort of like kill the dragon. I mean, the dragon is gone. What do we do now to help all these people that we are so concerned about?
When we talk about helping, we saw during the dust-up, if you will, we saw the Clippers, the players, the
Yes.
NBA players,
Yes.
come out in solidarity against Donald Sterling and against his statements.
And they should have. It is no question they should have. They had to make a stand. I mean, you can't have those kind of statements said and then say, that's okay with me. You know, you have to do something. All I'm saying is that, okay, we did this. We demonstrated that we are together, unified in calling a racist out. Now, the question still comes back to me, next steps. Okay, you did that. You showed that solidarity. Show me some solidarity in terms of how we include our community in the NBA family.
Donald Sterling's wife has said publicly that her husband is suffering from dementia. In your last conversation with him, how did he sound? Was he lucid? Did you all have an intelligent conversation?
Yes. Yes, he was. But I will tell you this about the man, and it takes a long time for him to make decisions. He's not one of those people that make, you can bring a project or something to him and he'll make a decision right away. It takes time. And although you hadn't asked the question yet, it sort of flows into at least what I think should be the next question, and that is, why did the NAACP honor this man, or attempted to honor this man with a Lifetime Achievement Award?
Well, let's say this. Okay. In 2009, you all honored him.
We did.
With a Lifetime Achievement Award, the Los Angeles chapter. And in that same year, Mr. Sterling settled a lawsuit with the U.S. Justice Department for $2.7 million. And he also had a couple other legal issues regarding or surrounding race. How did you all decide to give him an award in 2009 called a Lifetime Achievement Award?
Well, the 2009 award, I basically inherited that from the prior president, and I honored her wishes that we do that. So, but I will tell you also what I knew about the 2009 incident.
Before you gave him the award, were you aware of the challenges he had racially? Although you inherited the award, were you aware that he settled the suit with the Justice Department? I believe it was discrimination with housing with blacks and Hispanics here in the city, that he refused to rent to them. That was pretty public knowledge at the time.
It was, but nobody raised any hell about it.
But you knew about it, right?
But the question is whether I knew about it before or after the award. I honestly don't remember, but I will tell you this.
Yes, sir.
I did sit down with Mr. Sterling, attorney, and himself. And they explained to me what was going on, and Mr. Sterling's position was that he did not do it and that he wanted to fight it. And I told him that in no uncertain terms, that if any of those allegations are true, you need to make that right. You know, I don't care if only 1 out of 1 million is true. If one of them is correct, you need to make that right. And I understand he did settle it, but from my understanding, talking to him, it was the insurance company that basically pressed the settlement and paid the money. To this day, he still denies any of those allegations. Whether they true or not, they never went to court. So they end up being allegations.
But you brought it up earlier.
Yeah.
In the court of public opinion,
Oh, the man is in the court. He's a stone racist.
He's considered a racist. He's found guilty. And under your watch,
under my watch in 2000,
you all still gave him that award.
In 2014. Let's talk. My watch is 2014.
So we fast forward to 2014.
Yes.
Which you were solely responsible for in
Absolutely.
terms of crediting Mr. Sterling with or giving him another Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yes.
From the Los Angeles chapter of the NAACP. The question in the public was, and
why?
probably still is,
It should be why.
Why and what's the criteria?
Well, as I began to say to you earlier, is that I think in the fall of 2013, I approached Mr. Sterling about giving an endowment to Southwest College. It is the only African-American college in California that's predominantly black. And it's a community college on top of that. And we were in the process of negotiating a multi-million-dollar endowment. And at the time that we decided to give him an award, at least the way that we had put it to him was that, look, if you give an endowment to a historically black college, the only one in California, then let's look at maybe honoring your son, which passed last year, or Shelley, or yourself. And he said, let me get back with you. He got back with me and said, well, Shelley was just too emotionally distraught to do that about her son. And since Shelley was being honored by another group, I think around the same time, he says, well, you know, you can honor me. And our position was, if he was going to give a multi-million-dollar lifetime endowment to Southwest College, we would give him an award. And that's why we gave him the award. That's why I convinced my executive board that if he was going to do that, we would give him an award. And I make no apologies for that. I wished that we could have went forward with that, because the kids at Southwest College, you know, if they got all the classes that they need to graduate in 2 years instead of 3 or 4, if there were extra money for scholarship, extra money to help them take care of their family and kids, they'd be thanking God. They wouldn't be asking where it come from. They'd be saying, thank God that somebody, somewhere, has made the opportunity for me to go forward better. And I make no apologies for that.
So the question becomes, are these kind of awards given to people who make sizable contributions to organizations like the NAACP and other civil rights organizations?
No, absolutely not. And if you go back through the history of the people that we honored, that is not true. You can just look at who we honored this year. We honored Al Sharpton. He didn't give us any money. We honored the mayor. We gave them both the first Man of the Year award, our Person of the Year award. We honored an attorney, Charles Patton. He didn't give us any money. We honored Hester Watkins, which is on our executive board. We honored her. She didn't give us any money.
So when the public says, when the outcry was, wow, this must be pay for play, that's not the case.
It's not at all. It's not at all. The sole reason that Donald Stern was being honored by our organization was the endowment. And I make no apology for that. If I could get him or the NBA or somebody else to say, I'm going to give a multi-million-dollar endowment to an African-American school, then they can get an award from us. Yes.
You resigned.
I resigned. Yes, I did. I resigned because, first of all, there's a lot of, I guess, misinformation out here. The first thing is that job is volunteer. I am not paid staff. I don't get a dime. For 23 years of being in the NAACP, for being the president for 5.5 years. I resigned because, for me, the NAACP legacy his reputation in the community is more important than one person filling a volunteer position that's taking up 60 hours a week of my time that I do for free. So I figured that it would be to take that limelight off of the NAACP that's unwarranted, then I should resign that position.
Did you receive a call from Brock, who was the chairman of the NAACP, to resign? Were you asked to resign?
Not from Brock. I was asked would I consider it.
Who asked you?
It was someone in the office, but someone in the national office did ask me would I consider resigning, and at first I said, well, let me think about it. And after thinking about it for like 5 minutes, I say, it's probably the best thing to do. So I took it to my board, the LA branch. It's not a chapter; people call it chapters, but we're branches. And my branch refused my resignation, but I told him for the health and betterment of the NAACP and the LA branch NAACP, I'm going to resign because it's not worth it to the organization.
What reason did the national organization, the national representative, give you for wanting your resignation?
They didn't have to give me a reason.
What did they say?
It was apparent that there was too much emphasis on misinformation that the NAACP was being bought and sold by Mr. Sterling, or Mr. Sterling didn't give us any money, and let the truth be told, from 2009 to 2014, if you take that whole 5-year period, what the Sterling organization has given the Los Angeles branch, not national, just the Los Angeles branch, because they never gave national anything, would be less than $10,000 a year. It was never about money. It was never about me going to basketball games. I think in the whole 10, 12 years I've known Mr. Sterling, I've been to maybe 4 games. I think 2 of those games I sat courtside, and I saw one of them, when this thing first broke. I said, I've been to like 4 games maybe 4, this in 12 years, 10 years, whatever, and they just happen to find one that I'm sitting courtside. I personally don't like being at the games personally. I'd rather watch it on TV, just the traffic, a whole thing you go through. But that was not something that I really participated in, went to, or cared about. I could have went to more games, but I didn't want to.
Describe your relationship with Donald Sterling. You all seem like legitimate, real friends.
Well, we can talk to each other. We have had conversations where we've had disagreements, and we've had conversations where we had heated discussions. He's a person that I know, that yes, I can call, yes, I can visit him, yes, we could go out to lunch or dinner or something like that. If I felt that he was wrong in any way, I would check it. We were associates, friends, period.
You guys are still?
I have not talked to him in a little while.
Friendship still there?
Yes, I would say yes. I'm, contrary to a lot of people, I don't believe in throwing people under the bus when things are not well with them. I am not one to be overly critical, but what I will do is tell you, when you mess up, you mess up. When you did something wrong, you did something wrong. Now, what are you going to do about it? And I say the same thing to Sterling. Next steps. What's your next step? If those words don't reflect who you are, then what's your next step? How do you make amends for that? What do you do? Do you just sit back in your castle and do nothing? Or do you actually try to do something about it? And so next step for him, he has to, for me, and for my kids, and for the African American community, he has to demonstrate that those words don't reflect who he is. So that process, I don't know what that is. And if you ask me, which he has, what should I do? My answer to him, I can't help you on that because it got to come from your heart, not mine. It got to be your heart that reflects what you want to do.
Leon, some in the press have labeled you a sellout. You have a long history of working in civil rights. What's your thought when you hear terms like that?
You know, the first thing that comes to mind is that all these people that says that can't find them nowhere around when they come to being a part of the solution. You know, most folks that's doing all this talking and whatever has never participated in any organization, in any type of form, in anything to make things happen. For an example, let me give you a good example. 209, a year and a half ago, a lot of people in California don't know. We were still fighting the battle. Who wrote amicus curiae brief to go to the Ninth Circuit? NAACP. What NAACP wrote it? LA branch. Now, a lot of people still don't know that in Michigan, the Sixth Circuit, about a year and a half ago, overturned their version of 209, Prop 2. Who wrote a brief to the Sixth Circuit to help them decide that case? That the attorneys that did it was so impressed with the NAACP LA branch brief that they took it to Michigan and gave it to the kids and say, this is really good work. Now, a lot of people don't know that. Now, we lost. That decision came down earlier this year. We lost. But where was the folks to be saying, like, look, you know, this is for all our kids? Who gave those attorneys money to take it to the Supreme Court? The LA branch. We did that.
Proposition 209 addressed.
Proposition 209 did away with affirmative action in universities, public employment, things of that nature.
Right.
Now, the other thing is that about 8-9 months ago, LSUSD was having a problem. They have a case that's in the Supreme Court right now, the California Supreme Court right now, and it's dealing with equal access for public school students and charter schools. Right. And the thing is, if the charter schools had their way, they would have more classrooms and resources than public school students have. LSUSD asked the Los Angeles NAACP would they write an amicus curiae brief. We did, supporting the public schools. Because, you know, those kids, the what I call at-risk kids, I call the occasional problem kid that, you know, maybe once every school year get into some minor little problems. Those kids that have from foster home, those kids that have special needs, most of those kids are not in your charters. They're in your public. And public schools have to have resources to meet the needs of these kids. We were there. So we were there. And let me give you one more example and let's move on. We also have a program, and actually it stopped about a year and a half ago, lack of funding, where we actually went into the youth detention centers where young kids were found responsible and put in juvenile facilities. We actually had a program that we actually went in there, and for 6 weeks we teach a 6-week retail sales training that they have to get on the computer, the internet. We have somebody come out there every week, and we train them. And when they get out, they come to our office, and we teach them some more life skills. And we help them out and make sure they get jobs. That worked very well. That was a program that was a pilot. It was with the DA office, the probation office, and the public defender's office. We ran out of money about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I kept trying to get funding for it because it's $250,000, $280,000 to do that program. Can't get the money. But those are the kind of programs and things that we do. All the critics talk about a sellout. Our membership is $30. They'll pay $30 or $100 to see Beyonce, but they can't pay $30 to help their kids or their neighbor kids or their grandkids or whatever. So when people start talking about and criticizing, the first thing I want to know is, what are you doing? What are you doing? I've been an NAACP member and a member in almost just about every organization there is around that deals with black folks. And a good example is like in 2006, when UCLA freshman enrollment dropped under 100. 96 freshmen African American enrolled in 2006, and that included athletes. Well, who got the whole community together and say, we can't tolerate this? The NAACP, and I was right there.
So
now, let me just finish this.
let me jump in. So back to one of our initial questions, because I see and I feel your passion. You've been on the front lines.
Still on the front line.
You're still on the front lines. You've been called a sellout. Do you feel betrayed by the black community?
No, I just think they don't know all the facts. You know, it's easy for us to jump to snap judgment, and you got to consider when this first broke, everybody had already formed an opinion. I mean, you know, everybody like had an opinion. Who's involved?
But you must be hurt.
I'm not hurt. I'm saying, you know.
Come on. You've been working
for free.
You've been
for free.
You've been fighting the establishment. You've been serious. You've been dutiful. You've been working behind the scenes. You've been giving your time, your talent, your legal knowledge, your connections, your friendship, all the hours, your labor. And you were saying earlier you don't want to throw Donald Sterling underneath the bus. But don't you feel maybe the black community threw you underneath the bus?
Well, that's such a broad statement. I would say some people, not all. Because I can tell you now, I can walk down the street, I can go to the store, I've been places, I've had women hug me, I've had guys shake my hand and say, hey man, how you doing? You know, just, I wish you the best, you know, you're doing a good job. So it's not everybody. It's that small vocal minority that if you put a camera in front of them, they got something to say. And it generally is not good because they don't know the facts. But the average person on the street, if you ask them of what their opinion of Leon Jenkins, if they know it, it would be a positive one.
Leon, you've endured public scrutiny before.
Oh, yeah.
This is not your first time.
Hey, this is not even a spring shower, man.
What are you doing now to rehab your image, your public image?
What do I have to rehab? I don't feel I have anything to rehab. I didn't do anything wrong. First, you got to do something wrong to have to rehabilitate or rehab. So I don't feel I did anything wrong. And like I said, the public, as I know it, has been very supportive of me. So, I mean, I don't see where I have to do anything else.
Are you still involved with the NAACP? And if so, from what capacity?
I would always be involved with them, and along with a bunch of other organizations that I'm involved with. I'm still a member, still on the executive board, still can do, my opinion is still worth something in the organization. I have not left it yet. As I said, my branch has refused to accept my resignation, but I have officially resigned.
When you say you have not left it yet, is there a possibility that you may take some time off and take some time to reflect?
I probably would take some time off. I tell you, since it's been about a little over a month, and I tell you, man, this little extra time I got, it feels good. I spend most of my time worrying about, the NAACP, making meetings, being here, being in the forefront of things that's going on. Like, for an example, at Markham Middle School, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I saw in the paper where the African-American parents are saying, there's some discrimination going on. Well, if I was president, I'd have been right in the middle of that. That's what we do. That's what I do. So I still can be involved But man, I don't have to put in those hours. I have a son that's going to be a senior this year. Last year he's going to be at home. He's very, very bright. Going to go to a very, very good school. I'm thinking about maybe take some time and spend with him. So I mean, it depends. I mean, right now, you know, I'm just weighing my options.
You know, when we see people go through public challenges like yourself, one has to think of one's family. How has this scene in your life affected your family? This very public scene affected your son and the rest of the members of your family?
My family know who I am, and they just think, you know, these people got to be crazy. You know, do they know how many hours this man put in this job? Do they know it's free? Do we know he never got a dime for it? You know, so they saying, look around. How many people that you can count on that have done the type of work that he's done with as little fanfare as possible?
Have they ever come to you and say, Daddy, maybe take a seat, Dad, on this one?
No, my kids, as my branch wanted me to fight it, but I just told them, you know, I'm a little tired. Why don't I just take some time off?